What's happening, everybody? Welcome to the channel. If you've never been here before, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, check out some of the content. Everybody else, welcome back. Welcome back. I appreciate you. As you see, I have Big Dusty here. Big Dusty is in the house. Dusty has a lot more common sense than a lot of people who are Whoa, Dusty's on the bed. Dusty has a lot more common sense than a lot of people who are commenting on the Carmelo Anthony Austin Metcalf case. All right. As you know, when I make a video, I stick to the facts. I do not talk about fabrications. I do not talk about misleading. I do not talk about the lies. I do not talk about the racial aspect of it. Right. If those things are brought up or mentioned, I bring them up or mention them because they are relevant in some type of way, or I may be responding to the comment, but I'm going to talk to you about the legality again of where Carmelo Anthony is at right now. I'm going to talk to you about exactly what's going on in the court of law. What you might not know is that Carmelo Anthony has not been indicted on any criminal charge at all right now. I'm going to explain to you how that works if you have a misunderstanding of how the court works, all right? So all the things that you're hearing on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, all the things about the racial stuff, the people calling for hate, all the lies, all the things about whatever it may be, people getting swatted, people saying that he didn't have a knife, people saying that he was jumped by the brothers, people saying the mother's buying houses and cars, people are saying the spokesperson is a racist, right? All of that nonsense. Some of it may be true, right? And a lot of it is not true. That's not what we're here to discuss. So you don't need to leave me in the comments what's true and what's not true. I'm intelligent enough to see through that garbage. Now you have the whole thing going on with this woman, Shiloh, is raising money because she used the N-word against some kid, and Carmelo Anthony is raising money, and this one raised more money than that one. I mean, if you're even paying attention to that stuff, you need to check yourself, okay? Because it's irrelevant stuff. The court's not going to pay attention to it. The judge is not going to pay attention to it. And what's more importantly is the grand jury is not going to pay attention to it. And that's where we're at right now. That's where Carmelo Anthony is at. So let me explain a little bit of that to you. When Carmelo Anthony was arrested on the charge of murder in the first degree, he was arrested and he was given bail. He was not indicted on the charge. Once you get indicted, that makes it official. Okay. So right now, he has not been criminally charged. He has not been indicted for anything. And in order to get an indictment, it has to go before the grand jury. Okay. And the grand jury hasn't, the case right now is about 36 days old. Okay. So I'm going to give you the legal aspect of this. I want you to pay attention. This is fact. This is no opinion right here. This is exactly what Carmelo Anthony is going through right now and the Metcalf family. This is what's happening legally, right? He has not gone, but the grand jury has, when someone is incarcerated, the grand jury has 90 days to indict someone or not indict them. When someone is out on bail, they have 180 days to do an indictment. So because Carmelo Anthony is out on bail, they have 180 days. The grand jury has 180 days to bring an indictment on the case. Okay. And so that means he still has another 4 or 5 months for a grand jury to make any type of decision. And that's what we're waiting right now is on the grand jury, right? The grand jury is made up of 12 people. All right. 12 people just like you and me. The grand jury is citizens from the state of Texas. Okay. And they're going to meet behind closed doors. They are sworn in to secrecy. If they don't keep a secret, they face a $500 fine, and I believe it's 30 days in jail if they disclose anything that goes on in the grand jury, right? And so it's 12 people that meet behind closed doors in the courthouse. And Carmelo Anthony's, no one's really allowed to be in there except the 12 people, the bailiff, the district attorney, any witnesses that are being questioned. I'll get back to that. But Carmelo Anthony is not allowed there at the grand jury. His family is not allowed there. Austin Metcalf's family is not allowed there. Only witnesses to the case will be there. You need the grand jury is going to determine if there's probable cause. The district attorney is going to go into the grand jury, and he's going to lay out the case for the 12 people that are in there. He's going to show them any evidence that he has. He's going to present any facts that he has. He's going to show any exhibits that he's going to put forth. Like if they recovered the knife, he'll show the knife. If there's video, he'll show the video. And 9 out of the 12, right? They all have an independent vote. 9 out of the 12 have to establish that there's probable cause to indict Carmelo Anthony. In other words, 9 out of the 12 have to feel that there's enough evidence to pursue the case. And if they feel that there's enough evidence to pursue the case, they return what's called a true bill. And the true bill means that they're going to indict Carmelo Anthony on the case. If there's a failure, if 9 people don't come through in the grand jury, then it's called no bill. And he walks. There'll be no criminal charge against him right there. The DA won't pursue any case if 9 out of the 12 don't come back and vote for the indictment at the grand jury. As I said, the proceedings are secret. They're behind closed doors. Nobody is privy to what's really going on in there. He's going to present the facts. Any witness testimony will be included in there. I mean, the district attorney is going to lay out the case as best as he could. As I said, Carmelo Anthony has no right to be there at all. And members of the grand jury are people from the community. They're people from the community, and they'll be made up of different races. They'll be made up of different sexes, and it will coincide with the state of Texas, with the population of the state of Texas. In order to be on the grand jury, you have to be a citizen of Texas, number one. You have to be registered to vote. You have to be considered of good moral character. You have to be able to read and write. You could have no convictions or criminal record. You could have no open criminal case against you. And you could have no relation to the victims, no relation to anyone in the case. The prosecutor is going to sit these 12 people down and explain everything to them. And the grand jury has a right to examine the witnesses. The grand jury has a right to question the witnesses there, and they will, because I'm sure the district attorney is going to bring forth witnesses. They have a list in the police report of 30 witnesses. Remember, there was groups of people there when this transpired. They're going to be subpoenaed to the grand jury. If they don't want to testify at the grand jury, the district attorney has a right to subpoena them at the grand jury, right? And so they will have to go there and give their testimony. The only ones allowed in there, as I said, are the jurors, the bailiffs, the district attorney, any witnesses being questioned. An interpreter will be allowed in the room, and a stenographer will be allowed in the room. That's it. Nobody else is allowed in there. And as I said, they have 180 days to do that. So right now, what Carmelo Anthony and his lawyer are waiting for is to see if the grand jury is going to even indict, right? We haven't been privy to the evidence that the district attorney has. We haven't seen the witness statements. We haven't seen any video. So we don't know what the district attorney knows. What if, I'm giving a hypothetical, what if the district attorney feels that he doesn't have enough evidence for the indictment, right? So then he goes to the grand jury, and the grand jury shoots it down. Now, Carmelo Anthony's attorney is not really allowed to be inside of the grand jury, right? The defendant's attorney is not really allowed to be in there. But in rare cases, a very good defense attorney, a really good defense attorney can get into the grand jury and present an argument for Carmelo Anthony's defense. But he has to do that beforehand. He has to prepare and submit the proper paperwork in the court of law to step into the grand jury and defend his client, because most attorneys aren't allowed in, aren't allowed inside of the grand jury. All right. So that's where we're at right now. He hasn't officially been indicted. If the grand jury decides for the indictment, then they will indict Carmelo Anthony and for the charge that he was arraigned on, which was murder in the first degree. And in the state of Texas, he is being charged as an adult, according to Texas law, and he faces life in prison. But life in prison in the state of Texas for someone who's 17 years old is 40 years. So he's facing 40 years maximum in the Texas prison system if he goes to trial. There's always the chance that if the grand jury comes back with the indictment within 180 days and they decide that they put forth the true bill, they indict him, and there's always the chance that he accepts a plea bargain, that the court offers him a plea bargain, and he takes a plea bargain. If he doesn't take the plea bargain, if there's even a plea bargain on the table, if he doesn't take the plea bargain and he decides to go to trial, he can go to trial by jury, right, which is a jury trial, and they have to have a unanimous decision to find him guilty. That means all 12 jurors have to say that he's guilty for the conviction. Or he can go to a bench trial, which is a trial just by the judge, right? And I wouldn't recommend that, to go just by the judge, right? And I would go for a jury trial. If I was him, I would take a plea bargain. That's what I would do. If I was Carmelo Anthony, I would take a plea bargain, right? And but maybe he knows something we don't know. I don't know, But then you go to trial by jury. That's it. And so that's where we are in legal standing right now. What I would just like to close with is I hope that most of you stay away from the nonsense. Stay away from the who's raising more money than who, and who's calling for violence, and who's using the N-word, and who's saying this, right? I have no time for that nonsense, right? That's all an extremely small percentage of the population is jumping on the back of that, right? An extremely ignorant, incompetent, ridiculous percent of the population, tiny, is getting involved in all that nonsense, right? If you have a half a brain, you'll stick to the facts, you'll follow the facts of the case, and everything else is irrelevant, man. Unless you like getting caught up in all the gossip, unless you're one of those people who love that stuff. You know what I mean? There seems to be a lot of people out there like it, and it seems to be a lot of YouTubers who like to keep all that junk alive and report every little rumor that's going out there. You know what I mean? I'm not with that crap, man. I like to stick to the criminal aspect of the case, the legal aspect of the case. So that's what's going on. I'm going to wrap this up right now. I hope you enjoyed. Any questions, you could ask me in the comments. And I hope you're all well out there. All right. You guys enjoy the weekend that's coming. Enjoy the weekend. Take care, guys.